This is the pound Aussie on the 60. This is a high and tight flag I've been monitoring. I'm actually in another high and tight flag on the pound dollar. The pound Aussie wasn't quite good enough for me to enter, but since we're now pushing higher, I've dropped to the 5 range. We've seen a pullback, and I'm using the 5 range as the entry to hop on what I believe is going to be the rest of the move. So it does result in a very nice reward to risk here. So I'm just going to go ahead, do the high time frame analysis. This high and tight flag was worth about 120 pips, but there was an awful lot of risk with it, and I did need it to be a higher probability trade than that. So what we're doing here on the dailies is we're actually within this structure level just here. Now I do think price can come up to this level, but right now this is where we're trading at within these wicks. So if we go down to the 240 and we look at what price has been doing, then we have a new high, pullback, new high, pullback, new high, and we've just seen a small pullback. Where have we seen that pullback to? Within these wicks, indicating here we can go a little higher. So let's drop down the time frames then and take a look at this high and tight flag. So we've got a very directional move here, and it's looking like this. So we would have a touch, 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 and touch. This was an initial structure high just here. We've got a very directional pole, and as you can see we are in trend, but what concerned me was that we were up at this level, and we were also at the 18500 psychological number. So wasn't completely happy with buying the market, which was around about this level. And as we're now pushing up, even though this candle hasn't closed, we are pushing higher. But if we look on the 15, we have clearly already broken above that level, and we've broken above the 18500 psychological number. So this is now, even though it's not the hourly or the 240, it's confirmation here that we're potentially going higher. So what I did was I went down to the 5 range. As you can see, I highlighted the wicks there. So very simple here, pullback trade, new high, pullback, new high, pullback. So anywhere in this outside return, we're just simply looking for a higher high, higher close. There it is. And so it does mean then that I can reduce down the risk on the trade and play for the extension, that 127 fib extension, which I would normally play for in a high and tight flag, because it is a breakout pattern. So typically we tend to trend, and we tend to move very directionally, and as you can see we are moving very directionally here. So if I'd just taken the high and tight flag earlier, it was about 70 pips of risk, but the way this is now, this is looking like well, first of all, stops going ATR below the low plus 2 pips because the risk is under 20 pips, and the ATR, the cost of the fees, is quite expensive with pound Aussie, so I don't want to be stopped out early due to the spread. So I've given it a couple of extra pips. And I did say this in one of my videos not long ago, and that is that just because you miss the absolute best entry doesn't mean that you end up missing the trade, because these breakout patterns, they're called breakout patterns, they break out, and they usually break out with momentum, and that means on the lower time frames we do tend to get very directional moves, we do see very shallow pullbacks, and it does mean then that when you enter in like this, you do stand a high probability of the market just rallying up with relatively tight stops. So right, where's that 127 fib? Okay, we can't see it on the 5 range. Let's go to the 60. Oh, I've not put it on yet, that's why. Okay, so from the first test to the start of the pole, I always look for that 127. Okay, let's go back to the 5 range. And as you can see now, I'm actually a good few pips below that 127. There we go, I'm 5 pips below that 127. And so then in terms of risk, we're looking at 27, and in terms of reward looking at 71, giving us a very nice opportunity there. We're back for an update. I'm just going to zoom in. We're here on the 60, and as you can see, we have now broken above this level on the hourly. Show you what the 5 range looks like. Haven't yet violated this high, but you can see that the lows are getting higher here. So again, just a case of doing nothing but waiting. We're back on the 5 range. As you can see, 46 pips up now, and this is just the beauty of working these breakout patterns. Even if the pattern isn't quite good enough, but then you get the confirmation, you get the break above, and you're moving quite harmonically or in trend. And I did mention this earlier, a lot of the time these patterns go into trend because they break out, they move very directionally. And here we go, we had the pullback, we got involved, we pull back again, and now we have rallied off towards those potential targets. What a beautiful trade this will be if we can get up there for those 71 pips. We're back. As you can see, we are moving very directionally and in trend, and that is exactly what I said could happen with these breakout patterns. Not only is it nice to be right, but I'm right for a reason, and that reason is because I said numerous times, breakout patterns tend to break out directionally, tend to adhere to trend, and that's exactly what we've done and what we did here. We had a move higher, a pullback, a move higher, a pullback, a move higher, a pullback to this zone. Currently 70 pips up, guys, just 1 pip away now from targets, and we're now seeing that extension, and there we go, 71 pips banked on the pound Aussie. That's really great because I am almost out of my drawdown. I've got one other trade which is rallying like this one, and if that one hits, I will be out of my drawdown, and that will be 150 pips banked for the day. Very, very pleased if it comes off. But right now, let's just go and take a look at the 240. Nope, the 60. Take a look at the 60. And you can see here then I told you that I had the opportunity of getting involved here. I waited for extra confirmation. Beautiful 71 pips.